we're going to talk about in today's lesson is the consequences of ignoring your problems, right? It's inevitable. We all have problems in life, whether that be people, things, situations, relationships, bosses. There's a lot of problems. Now, what is a problem? Okay. Problems arise in all aspects of life. Like I said, whether that be personal relationship, work, society as a whole, things that you've inflicted on yourself, right? Sleeping in too long, hitting the snooze button. A problem is basically something that stops you from getting to the person that you ultimately want to be. All right. The person that you deserve to be. But instead, there's resistance in the way. Now, it is important to recognize and address them in a timely manner. So when a problem comes up, you're going to want to address it as fast as possible so that it doesn't get bigger and then it takes more time to actually solve. So I always say, kill the monster when it's small, not when you're at level 50 and you have a huge monster now and you're trying to hit him in every single blind spot to try and knock him down. All right, so kill the monster when it's small. If you see a problem, if there's a problem that you've recognized to where, you know, your waist, like your jeans are starting to get tight, or you're starting to hit snooze, skip your workouts in the morning. If you're recognizing that there is a problem, the first step is owning it, knowing that it is a problem, and then holding yourself accountable to that. I'm 100% accountable to this problem, and that's where I'm going to fix it. And then you turn it around with change behavior. So escalation of said problem. There is an escalation period to every problem that we face in life if we do not solve it. If we don't pay attention to it, it will get bigger. So when we choose to ignore a problem, it doesn't just go away. I'm sure we all have understood this, whether that be we're in a relationship to where we've seen red flags or we've seen certain things that we start to ignore. They don't go away. They keep coming back because behavior is either reinforced or punished. So if something happens, you're either reinforcing that behavior to continue to happen, or you're punishing that behavior by stopping it. So we have a tendency to escalate our problems and let them grow over time. And it's normal. It's easier to ignore because no effort is involved in that. We don't have to place any effort into changing the problem because all we are doing is ignoring it. So that's why it is our default as humans to do that. It takes no effort. So for example, if you ignore a small leak in your roof, it can lead to major water damage. Or if you ignore a minor conflict with a coworker or someone at work, it can escalate into a major feud that affects the entire team, right? So just to give you an analogy, right? You have a small leak in your roof. So instead of actually fixing the problem and getting on the roof, possibly replacing some shingles or the whole roof in itself, we realize that problem takes a lot of effort. So instead we grab a bucket or we grab a towel because it's easier and it band-aids it, but it doesn't fix the problem at hand. It fixes it temporarily, but over time it's going to get worse. And all of that energy that you put into placing that bucket there, emptying the bucket, wiping up the water, all of that energy could have been put in initially to actually change the problem and find the solution for it, to where you didn't have to spend all of that time trying to figure out other ways for you to deal with this and justify the problem in itself. All right. Whether it's a small problem or a big one, it's still a problem. So if you decide to skip the gym a few times, you'll eventually find yourself justifying almost every skipped workout. All right. So when you start to hit the snooze button, or when you start to feel like you can skip a workout because you don't have that much time, or you feel like you've already got your workout in because you walked a lot, you lifted a lot at work, you will start to find ways to justify that because, again, it takes no effort to tell yourself, I did enough today, right? I walked up enough flights of stairs. I took the stairs instead of the elevator. I ended up walking to the coffee shop instead of driving, right? So if you ignore the fact that your pants are getting significantly tighter, just like I said earlier, you may find yourself in a much larger place of despair in 2 years, but you not worrying about the pants getting tighter and you just unbuttoning your pants or adjusting your belt loop to a bigger size isn't really putting in that much effort, but it's band-aiding the problem at that moment, which is why we gravitate towards it, which is why we choose the easy way out. I'm telling you, these problems can be solved, not by running, because then they chase. If we run from something, it will chase us. But instead, facing them head on and saying, try me instead of why me, right? Because we can all be in the victim mindset. We can say, why is this happening to me? Why did I get these genetics? Why was I given these limitations? Why do I have diabetes? Why is it I was passed down this generational, whatever it may be, right? You can either have the try me mindset or the why me, and one of them works. So what is the actual cost? Like, what is the cost of ignoring the problems and not facing them head on? Once the pain of staying the same exceeds the perceived pain of change, that's when action takes place. So most of us are not in a position right now that is costing us that much, right? You skipping your workout. In hindsight, it really doesn't cost you that much. But 10 years later, it could cost you a lot more than what it did initially when you were skipping the workouts and not thinking it was that big of a deal. All right. So again, once the pain of staying the same, you not doing anything, you not taking action towards your goals, once that pain is enough to where you say, you know what, I think changing my behaviors, changing my actions are less painful than me just sitting here and accepting what I am, that's when you will take action and move in the direction you need to be. So we stay in our unwanted situations when it's not costing us as much. So if you find yourself seeing a problem reoccur in your life, ask yourself, am I in enough pain? Is this costing me enough right now for me to actually take charge and eventually figure out the problem here, figure out the solution to fix this? And once you realize that, you then start to actually fix the problems in your life, even if they're small. You know that in 5 years from now, this can be an even bigger problem. And when you compound it like that, you realize these small problems will eventually turn into bigger things that are harder to control in the near future. And we've seen this all the time, to where if we've let ourselves go after high school, usually when we creep up into our mid 30s, easing up to 40 years old, we start to realize, wow, I haven't been doing what I was supposed to do, or I haven't even been active since high school, right? But those problems were very minuscule at the time because we got distracted with life, relationships, jobs, all kinds of stuff, right? So what is the solution? The solution is address the problem as soon as they arise by taking immediate action. We live in a world today where it is so easy, and most people indirectly communicate with each other, that when we directly communicate, it's passed as aggressive, or people look at you as you're an aggressive person when you directly point out an issue, because most people are always indirectly communicating to everyone else what they don't appreciate about them, what they don't agree with, and also ourselves, right? So instead of taking ownership, we always shift the blame, indirectly communicating with ourselves. But if you were to actually directly communicate with yourself and say, you know what? I hit snooze on my alarm because I stayed up too late. I skipped my workout because I justified that I ate well today, so I felt like I didn't need to work out, right? Or I didn't reach out to coach when I was feeling down, so I'm just not going to do anything. Taking responsibility, being proactive, taking action is going to fix the problems that you face in life, but you have to take ownership. It is very easy to shift blame. It's easy to say, my phone was on silent, my phone wasn't near me, I didn't plug my phone in. But again, it comes down to you. You didn't plug the phone in. You didn't turn the phone on to max volume. right? You didn't set out your clothes in order for you to make it to the gym on time. So it starts with accountability. Even if you feel like it's not your fault, the success in your life and the problems that you face and you actually fixing them will be directly dependent on how much accountability you're willing to take. And the conclusion is basically ignoring your problems may seem like the easiest option. Like I said earlier, the short term, it seems easy, but it can lead to bigger and more severe issues in the long run, like severe health conditions, things that are irreversible. By recognizing and addressing problems early on, we can prevent them from causing more harm and ultimately save time, energy, money, etc. You can save relationships. You can save peace of mind, right? By killing the monster when it's small.